Hi, my name is Jamie. I am a physical therapy student and I'm going to be making a series of videos taking you through the application process and the process starting physical therapy school. So talking all about observation hours, undergrad GPA and involvement, the GRE, the application itself, interviews, and deciding what school to go to. Videos like this helped me in this process, so I hope these videos help you. Hello, my name is Jamie. I am a physical therapy student. This is the last and final video of my PT school application tips, tricks, and advice series. So today we're going to be talking about picking a school. So, I was only accepted to one PT school. Now you're probably thinking, Jamie, what makes you think you can make an advice video about getting into PT school if you're only accepted to one? Well, there are many things that I did in my application process that, there are many things that I did in my process that I think benefited me a ton in getting interviews and getting accepted to PT school, and then there are things that I did that I wish I would have, and then there are things that I didn't do that I wish I would have done. So this entire series is a mixture of all of those advice pieces and tips and tricks. So you can get into more schools. I'm happy with the school I go to. The school that I did get into, I enjoy, I think it's a good match for me. This is my tips for picking a PT school. One, you can use this video at the end of your application process where you have been accepted to a handful of schools and now you have to decide which one to go to, or something that I wish I would have done is use these tips for the beginning of your PT school process, deciding which schools to even apply to, because there's so many schools that I spent money on for the application and applied to them, which at the end of the day, if that was the only school I would have got into, I wouldn't have gone. So, number one is obviously price and location. Those are the two big ones that people are going to look at when you're looking at schools. The location of it and the price. There's nothing like, duh. But some other ones that people don't think about is where the PT school is located compared to the other part of the campus. So for my school, the PT program is all pretty much in one building on campus. We have access to the library, we have access to the student center, we have access to the gym. It's all walking distance, it's all on one campus, and all of our classes are in one building, our professors are all in that building, labs, everything is right there. We went off campus for cadaver lab, and then we went off campus, or not off campus, but to the nursing building for one of our labs. That was it. Everything else was right in that one building. If your PT school has a different campus than the actual university's campus, will you still have access to those things? Are you likely to drive the 15 minutes or whatever it is to the library, to the student center, or whatever it is? Number 2, 3, I don't know. When are your clinicals compared to your didactics? So another thing I don't think a lot of people consider when they're applying to schools is the clinical schedule. So for me, all of our clinicals are at the end. So we go through 4 semesters. We have a 2-week clinical at the beginning of December. Then we go back for a 5th semester that's shortened. And then we have all of our long, actual clinical rotations. There's some which I like. There's some schools who will put in their clinical rotations intermixed in the didactic programs. You'll go do a few semesters of didactic, go on a whatever week-long clinical, and then go back for your didactics. Personally, I liked how all of our clinicals were at the end of, or are at the end of our program. Another thing I don't think people think about when they are choosing what school to go to or choosing what schools to apply to is the NPTE dates compared to graduation dates. So the NPTE is given to the big board exam for PT, given January, April, July, and October. So if you graduate in May, then some programs will let their students take the NPTE at the end of April and graduate in May. Some programs don't. So you could graduate in May, have majority of May, all of June, a majority of July, because I'm pretty sure all of the NPTs are like the end, like the 25th-ish. So just about 3 months, and take your NPT in July at the earliest is the 3 months. Or like if your program graduates in December, you have majority of December, the beginning of December, you have the majority of December, majority of January, and then take it at the end of January. So just knowing your options with different schools. I'm sorry I talk with my hands. Lastly, the last thing I would think about is obviously graduation rates, NPTE pass rates. What are the other ones? Oh, professor to student ratio was a big one that I looked at. I liked that the programs I got into was smaller, and they do have a really good professor to student ratio. It's benefited me in my schooling. Are there 1,000 or not 1,000, but like, are there 100 people in your cohort or 40 people in your cohort? Is there one professor in your labs or 3 professors in your labs walking around answering questions? Are you in smaller classes? Like, that's something that I really looked at. Obviously, graduation rate, MBT, pass rate, employment rate, all of those stats and whatnots are probably going to be on the school's website. You can look at those. Lastly, talking to other people who are currently in that program or have graduated from that program gives you a good inside look into what the program's like. Can't think of anything else. I will say I wish I would have considered all of these earlier in my application process, because I applied to a lot of schools and later realized, like, okay, if that's the only school you got into, would you go? And there's a handful of schools on the list that I applied to that if that was the only school I would have gotten accepted to, I would have had a really hard time saying, like, yes, I'll go, versus no, I'm gonna wait another year and apply again and see which one I get into next round. Maybe all of the schools you're applying to, you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I would love to go. Great. But I wish I would have saved myself a little bit of money and not applied to so many schools, because I wish I would have considered these things earlier. Again, the school I got into, love, great. It's a great option for me. No complaints. But hopefully the videos helped. I definitely enjoyed watching other videos like this when I was applying to PT school, when I was in the didactic portion of my PT school. It helped me a lot. So my whole goal and hope for these videos is that it can help other PT students. I hope to make other PT school related videos in the hopes that it will help others, as other YouTube videos have helped me, but then also just capturing moments before they become just memories. So that is all. Hope you enjoy this series. If you haven't seen all of the other videos, there's 6 total in this series. Let me know if you have any other suggestions of videos. But that is it. And this is my last video on my PT school application tips. This is the